right, welcome. I'm going to tell a quick story because I have a workshop that I'm preparing for, and I just want to. When I create assets, there's two purposes, right? So this is for the person that I'm collaborating with to understand why and the story of how this came to be. And it's also for anybody that wants to know how I got into books and how I, do the marketing and all of this stuff that got me on the path to like using books to generate high quality leads in your business, right? So the story goes like this, right? I got some books and I'm going to tell the story through using these books. Okay. So the story goes like this. I was working with this real estate investor association, and some way I used to help grow the we used to run events, and I used to help the events like fill the room, fill the seats at the event. And I became really good at that simply because I was using technology, right? I was using the technology to help grow the events. And ultimately, I kept complaining and I kept saying, look, we got to fix our marketing. We got to fix this stuff. And I got so frustrated. I was like, you know what? I can't work for this organization anymore. I got to leave. So I left the board. I was on the board of directors for marketing. I left the board of directors because they weren't taking and listening to my input. And I was like, we got to do marketing. Nobody's coming to the events. We're not spending any money on marketing. They wanted to do all organic word of mouth marketing. And it was working to a degree, but it wasn't working the correct way. So I was doing that event with a organizer, and he wasn't afraid to spend money. Every time we spent money, and we didn't spend a lot, every time we spent money, we had more turnout at the events. But the ultimate organization, they didn't want to spend money. All right. So I left that board and I was like, you know what? Let me learn a little bit more about this marketing thing. And I can't remember which of these books I was reading from Russell Brunson, but I was reading one of these books. It was either, I don't know which one I was reading, but great books. I was listening to it. I was listening to an audio. And one night I remember I was laying next to my girlfriend. And at the end of I kept hearing him say, Dan Kennedy, Dan Kennedy, Dan Kennedy. I'm like, who's this Dan Kennedy person? That's like the source. Let me see if I can go to the source of this person. So I did that. And I looked up that person online, this Dan Kennedy person. While I put these back in the case, I found this Dan Kennedy person, and he had a book. He had this book available. And I'm going to show you that book in a little bit. He had a book available called Magnetic Marketing, right? So I decided to purchase that book, Magnetic Marketing. I'm going to tell you what the title of that book is once I get these in here. I purchased that book, Magnetic Marketing, and this is it here, right? So I'm telling my stories. I'm telling my stories with these books, right? So I purchased this book here, Magnetic Marketing. And the subtitle of this book is How to Attract a Flood of New Customers That Pay, Stay, and Refer. Right. So I read this book and I was like, actually, I listened to this book. And at the end of it was a straightforward, no nonsense, punch you in your face, tell me the truth type of book. Right. No fluff, like make you feel good. It's like, here's what you need to know. Here's why you need to know it. And here's how you do it. So inside of the book, or at the end of the audiobook, I can't remember, but I want you to understand why this is so important. Here we go. So point number 3 inside of this book, it says, here are your next steps. Number 1, register your book. Number 2, explore the magnetic marketing system and toolkit, right? So one of the things about books is you have to give people a call to action, or you don't have to, but you can. You can get people to take the next step. And then number 3, it said, join us for the next live magnetic marketing fast implementation bootcamp. And I was sold on that. I was like, okay, let me go, because the book was so good. Imagine what the bootcamp is going to be like. So I went online, I signed up for the bootcamp, and then I joined their all-day bootcamp. And there is where I met my coach, which is like basically my life change. I met my coach. Her name was Darcy. I met Darcy, and Darcy gave me a lot of input and a lot of insight on how to establish marketing the correct way. One of the things that we were doing during that bootcamp, one of the things I really appreciated was it wasn't all theory. It was actual implementation. So let's like actually do some work. So I was like, okay, I like this. We sat and we did some workshops. And one of the things we learned about is the importance of giving people information right? People want to buy your products or they want to learn more about you, but they're not ready. They need to learn more. So one of the ways that you help people understand what it is that you do is you give them more information. And there are multiple ways you can give them more information. It can be in a book, it can be in a report, it can be in a video. There are different ways that you can give information. But during this boot camp, I believe it was a 2-day boot camp, probably a total of 12 hours or so. One of the things that we did was we put together what is called a free report. So a report that gives people more information on how to take the next step with you, whether it's a phone call, whether it's to purchase your product or something else. So we put together a free report, and I was like, man, I'm excited. I actually got something done. I produced something within my business rather than just attending a webinar or learning a bunch of theory and a bunch of fluff. We actually did work. So because of that, I was like, you know what? I'm sold. And I was sold on that boot camp. I believe I paid $97 for that boot camp. And at the end of it, they had another offer for coaching, for implementation coaching, which was 1 year of implementation coaching in order to help you install this stuff in your business. So I signed up for it. I think it was like $7,000, maybe $8,000. I can't remember. It could have been $10,000, but I signed up for it. And we were, one of the things that we were doing was we continued to work on our free reports, these reports that we were doing. And if you understand marketing, you more than likely understand what a free report is. It was like information on how to take the next step, how to move forward. And someone asked a question. I can't remember all the details, but someone asked a question. And Darcy said, you know what? I'm going to continue this video. All right. So I had to meet with my mentor, right? My coach. I had to meet with my coach, and I forgot that I had that time scheduled at 10:30. So I was a little behind. But I was talking with Darcy, and she said, we actually used to do books. And I was like, wow, used to do like full-blown books? Well, what's the next step to do a book? Like, how do you create a book? And Darcy's like, well, it's kind of the same thing. It's a different format. You maybe add a little bit more substance to it, and you design a cover, but a lot of the foundation is the same. And I was like, wow, I actually like that idea, and I would love to do a book. I was like, how can we do that? Because I'm not afraid, right? Darcy's talking. She's like, most people are overwhelmed and they're afraid and they're like hesitant. And a book is like a daunting task. As soon as people hear that, they're like, their brains start smoking or something like that. And I'm like, not me. I like challenges. Let's figure out how we can do this. And she's like, well, guess what? I wrote a book on this. I was like, oh, well, what's the name of that book? And the name of her book is Insider Secrets to Writing a Lead Generation Book in 7 days or Less. And one of the things I appreciate about this is it's a lead generation book. So Insider Secrets to Writing a Lead Generation Book in 7 days or Less. And it's a very specific thing. So the thing I love about this is that it's a lead generation book. You don't have to write your entire story for a lead generation book. It's generating leads for your business. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? So one of my favorite formats of a lead generation book is questions and answers, right? What questions do your customers and your prospects have? What's the answer to that question, right? You do that, and that becomes your book. At the time when I was working with Darcy, she offered that as one of the formats. And she also said, look, if you have a process, which I'm a straightforward person and I have a process. She's like, look, if you have a process that you help people implement and instill into their business, you can make your book that process too. I was like, oh, I like that because I'm the straightforward person. I like to give people as much substance as possible and say, look, this is everything that we do. If you want to do it, go ahead and use the book, use the video, use the course. But if you want help, come contact us and we'll help you. So that was the format that I decided to adapt and use in my business. And I learned that with Darcy's book, as well as her coaching that I signed up for during that boot camp. Okay. Now, ultimately, at the end, I did everything. I followed the directions. Something that really helped helps too. It's not all about just if you can do it. Sometimes it's about implementation and setting realistic deadlines. So one thing about Darcy's book is that it says insider secrets to writing a lead generation book in 7 days or less. Now, I must confess, I did not finish the book in 7 days completely, right? I had all of the content done in 7 days, but the entire process took me about 30 days. Okay. Took me about 30 days. I did it with an accountability partner. I had someone with me. She was writing her book as well, and we did it together, and we got our books done. Okay. At the end, we designed the cover, we did everything, and we ended up with this book here. Ended up with this book, Insider Secrets of Successful Advertising, Lead Generation, and Marketing Implementation for Real Estate Entrepreneurs. And the whole reason I put this book together was because I was playing with the terms real estate and marketing, and the main message that I wanted people to understand, and it's the main message I still want people to understand, is that marketing is the most important part of your business. But further than that, right, the importance of following up. You must follow up. So lead generation is like generally easy, right? It's the follow up where people drop the ball. So I wanted people to understand that, and I communicated that inside of this book. Now, one of the things I want you to pay attention to about this book is the fact that these letters are, like, to me, this was like easy to read. Insiders, and honestly, I could read it, but I got some feedback from a mentor, right? Darcy had encouraged me. She was like, once you got your book together, you can reach out to some people, some centers of influence, mentors. And I was like, man, you know what? Who should I reach out to? And I reached out to, this is not the book, but this is the gentleman, right? I had a connection with Ron. We had done some events together, and I met him in a mastermind, Ron LeGrand. I reached out to Ron LeGrand and I said, Ron, I put together a book. How would you like to be the author for the foreword in my book? But because I had already knew, and this is something that I like to help people understand, I learned this through Darcy as well. Darcy Warres that I'm telling you about. She said, read your prospects' minds, pay attention to their actions, their behaviors, the words, the things that they're saying. And I was paying attention to his words. I could read, I could tell what he was going to say. Ron LeGrand that I'm talking about. And I reached out to him, and this is key. When you reach out to mentors or you reach out to people that you want to collaborate with, you want to make it as easy as possible for them, especially if they're an authority and they don't need you. They don't need you in your business, or they don't need a product. They don't need a service from you. What's the benefit in it for me, right? What can I get from doing this thing for you? So I had that in mind. I'm like, okay, we have a relationship, but I can't make this work difficult on and for Ron. So what should I do? And what I did was I thought about him and I empathized. I'm like, what would Ron say if he were to write a foreword for my book? And I watched some of his videos and I downloaded and I thought about the way he talks and the way he speaks. And I wrote the foreword in as if I was Ron LeGrand. I wrote the foreword as if I was him. So I wrote it out, and then what I did was I put the letter together, and then I reached out to Ron and I said, hey, Ron, I wrote a book and I would love for you to add a foreword to my book. I've done all of the work. All you have to do is sign off on it. And Ron said, yes. And that's how I got the foreword to my book published, right? I did that work, and a lot of people don't want to do that extra work and take those extra steps, but I did that. And the entire time, here's his other book. Ron says, the less I do, the more I make. So I had his personality in my brain the entire time. And I was like, I can't make extra work for him if I'm asking him for something. Okay. His benefits is I'm going to market the book. I'm going to tell people how great he is. I'm going to be proud that I have him contribute a foreword to my book. So I did that. And then we ended up with this book, Real Estate Marketing Insider Secrets of Successful Advertising Lead Generation. And this was the first version of the book. And in here, Ron's foreword isn't even in here yet, right? So that's another thing I want you to understand. Your book doesn't have to be perfect when it comes out. You can always modify it. You can always add to it. You can always subtract from your book. So this was the first version of the book. And once we did everything, I was like, you know what? We headed to, I think, Cherry Hill, New Jersey, where Ron was hosting the event. And I said, Ron, I want to bring you a couple copies of the book. And we took a picture together of him holding the book with me since he published the foreword. So this is before the foreword got published. And he gave me some feedback, right? So remember that mentor I mentioned? He said, hey, son, listen, son, I remember. I can't even read that thing. And I said, okay. He's like, you want to know why? Because one, you use all capital letters. Then two, the font is kind of ugly, right? And I was like, man, I really appreciate that feedback because no one has given me that perspective yet. And when I sat back, right, out of my feelings and I thought about it, I was like, he's absolutely right. It is hard to read. Those fonts are ugly. And I should make an adjustment to this book. And that's what I did. I made an adjustment and I added his foreword. We got everything settled. So I just wanted to tell that story. You'll see it in other places as well. Now, once I'd done that, I was like, man, this book process, this thing that we did, right? I didn't talk in all of the details about the book process, but I had developed a process. And part of that process was I would create videos talking about the topic, right? So I took a video of one of my classes that I was teaching to agents and I transcribed that and then I turned that into a book. So I was doing that and I had some colleagues, and in particular, Carlos, right? One of my colleagues, he wanted to get involved and he wanted to do some of this stuff too. And I was like, yeah, I'm doing marketing. I'm doing this stuff for my business. And one of the key components of marketing, right, if you don't want to be like everyone else, is to establish a book. So I'm straightforward. And depending on the relationship we have, I can be forceful. So I was forceful with Carlos because I know he can handle it. Right. And I was like, okay, you sure you want to do this? We're going to create a book. And he was like, yes, let's do it. And I was like, all right. So we're going to create a course for you and we're going to create a book. Right. And how do we do that? We take videos, right? Common questions that people receive and we answer those, right? We answer those in a video format. And that kind of becomes our mini course, which we then turn into a book. Okay. So that's what we did. And that's what I did with Carlos. And while I was taking him through that process, I realized that it was a little difficult. It wasn't hard, right? We complain a lot. It's 2024. We complain a lot. Oh my God, it was so hard. Clicking some buttons and dragging some text around. That was hard, right? Imagine what our ancestors and the people that before us been through to do some of the stuff that we're doing, right? Imagine people that wrote books way back yonder. Imagine what they had to go through to write a book, right? Without transcription and all the stuff that we go through. But I realized it was hard. And I was like, you know what? How can I make this easier on people? And Carlos was one of those people that helped me realize that I can make the process easier. And it took me a while, but I can't remember. It was I think it was November 2023. No, it was November 2022. OpenAI, the tech company, they rolled out ChatGPT, the tool, and something clicked in my brain. I was like, what if we use ChatGPT to help put the books together and transcribe them? So part of what we do with ChatGPT and the videos is we use that tool to put our books together. So we did that, and I just want to show you because I'm actually proud of him, the work that he's done. I want to see Carlos's book. So this was like the first book, which it's ugly, right? If I'm being honest, and he wouldn't mind me saying that because he can take direct feedback. This thing is ugly, but we were proud at the time when we put it together. So this was his first book, Selling a House on Terms: How to Sell a House Fast and for More Money Than You Thought Possible. And we put this together. And one of the things I want you to see is that this book you don't even have page numbers in here. It's terrible. It has since gotten better. Man, this thing is terrible. So maybe, okay, I think it's 86 pages inside of this book. Really thin book. We put it together. We did it right. Now, something is better than nothing. Some people are going to make the case, oh my God, it looks terrible. Show me your book, right? So we did that. We put that book together using those processes, and that's how things came to be. Now, since then, right, I have published over 20 books, and I hate talking about the books that I've done, because it seems like I'm bragging to some people, but I've done over 20 books. But what I'm most proud of is I've helped other people create books. And Carlos is one of my favorite people because he has, I don't know how many books he's published, but it's over 5, right? And I just want you to see the progress, right? So this was the first book, right? Selling a House on Terms. We did that book, we put it together. And then we started making improvements, right? So that Selling a House on Terms book, that's what it looked like. And we had that color because that was his brand. Then we have this book. So he changed it, he transformed it. He designed it himself, which I told him not to do, but it's starting to look better than this book here, right? It looks better than that book. So we started making improvements. Understand, your book doesn't have to come out perfect. It doesn't have to come out perfect. You start somewhere, okay? So that was his next book, and he was like thinking about being a Google guy, so you can kind of see some of that with the colors. The Part-Time Real Estate Investor's Guide to Selling Your House on Terms, The Wealthy Way by Carlos Otero. You can kind of see that here, right? Same theme. This is book technically is number 3, I guess. The Part-Time Investor's Guide to Finding Off-Market Deals with Google Ads. That was his book. And this one is about 75 pages, real thin book. Doesn't have to be complicated, okay? Next, we have The Home Seller's Advantage, Unlocking the Secrets to a Successful Property Sale. So this book, and we just improved the format and everything every single time we created the books. So this was his more recent book. And this one is about 150 pages. Kind of see it there. Of course, he designed it himself. And then when he stopped, before that one, sorry, this was it, right? So that was another iteration. And this is, I believe, the final iteration, right? You can kind of see it. And this is when he listened to me, right? So he did a book on jump starting your business. So getting your business started or starting a business. And this is the cover. This is what it looks like. So it looks a little more professionally designed when he went with the designer that I recommended. So there you can kind of see it. I have like 5 books over here from him, and he's working on more now. And I'm putting some pressure on you right now, Carlos. By the time a lot of people see this video, hopefully your book is done. But now, because of because of the influence and the ability and the power of books, he reached out to a mentor and a coach of his, someone of great importance within the marketing space. Doberman Dan, you can probably Google him, he'll probably come up. And Doberman Dan is going to publish Carlos' forward. So they're going to collaborate on a book together, and Doberman Dan is going to do the forward for his book, simply because Carlos has this experience. Carlos has built that relationship, and Carlos was willing to put himself out there and say, hey, let's collaborate. I have something that I want to add to you and for you. Let's make it happen. So I just wanted to share that because now we're on the brinks of doing that workshop together. And there should be some good things that come from it. So that is the story behind, I don't even remember it because I didn't follow my points, but I want you to see that the importance of books, how I got into this book, and how we're about to start that new workshop. So that was the point of it, right? So we're about to do a workshop. Now I'm going to be more specific to the workshop. So I learned about the importance of a book through, I'm going to do it in another video. So I'm going to come back, and then I'm going to do it in that video. All right. I'll see you in the next video. All right, so video number 3 thus far, and I have like a few key points that I want to talk about, and I'm probably going to do a screen share. Yes, I'm going to do a screen share, so you're not just looking at me. So let's share this screen, and let's go with Google. Share that. All right, and okay, there we go. So I first learned about the importance of a book and authority through Dan Kennedy and magnetic marketing, which I've told in a prior video. I've told that story. Darcy helped me put together my first book, and she gave me the idea that I should reach out to Ron LeGrand, like it, and other key influencers, other key people. I downloaded Ron's personality, which you can kind of see here. I downloaded his personality. Let me see. Zoom out. There we go. I downloaded Ron's personality according to his book and me interacting with him. The less I do, the more I make. And I just want to emphasize and help people understand that, right? When you're reaching out to people, you want to make it as easy as possible. Don't reach out and say, what can I do for you? That's exhausting. No coach or mentor or successful people wants to sit there and think about how you can help make their business better. You just do it. And in this case, this is what I did with Ron. I reached out and I said, hey, I did a whole entire book. I have a foreword that I wrote in your voice. All you have to do is say yes or no. That's all you got to do. Now, this is something that I want to personally share with you. Doberman is what I call you, Doberman Dan. And yeah, so I picked this up from you. So let me show you. So in most of my books, what I do now is I use what I call the headline format. I swiped it from your books. Carlos gave me these books. Carlos was like, he was going through. I was like, Carlos, you got to fix your marketing. You got to fix your marketing. And he took the initiative. Or I said, go. He took the initiative to go get a coach. And the person that he found was you, like Doberman. And I was like stuck in magnetic marketing doing my thing. I was like, bro, you have to go find some coach, or you got to go find some mentor, because I don't have the capacity and ability to teach you everything. So you're going to have to go get it by yourself. He took that initiative and went to find you. He gave me this book. Hopefully I can get it signed by you. Hopefully we collaborate on a workshop. I would love a signed copy. Many of my books, when I meet the author, the speaker, I try to get it signed. So in a prior video, I was talking about Ron LeGrand. I have those books signed. Carlos is putting pressure on me for the upcoming super conference. I'm trying to get my book signed by Dan Kennedy. By the way, my favorite book from him is No BS Time Management. That's my favorite book ever from him, of the ones that I've read. So Carlos gave me this book, and he also gave me this book. So I have these. I would not have them if he didn't give them to me. So I have those books, and I would love a signed copy. And what you're seeing, what I'm saying in my document, what I'm saying about this headline format is, I've seen it in other places, but reading your book, I picked up this headline format, right? So inside of your book, you actually have headlines where it stops people in their tracks to like read the book and find out what they're talking about. So I swiped that format from your books, and now I install that in all of my books. And let me show what that looks like in my latest book. So now in all of my latest books, what I try to do, let me see if it's in house to sell. Yeah, it is in house to sell. So this is a book, Real Estate Success Secrets. And inside of here, if I open it up, boom, you can kind of see I've got headlines. Understanding the marketing system. This is a headline to this paragraph. The importance of implementing a system in marketing. That's a headline. So I swiped that. I would have never done that headline format if Carlos didn't buy me those books by you. So how to structure your ultimate marketing asset. 5 core questions, introduction. These are all headlines. And that's what I'm saying when I'm talking about swiping the headline format. So I got that from you. Credit to you and Carlos. I use that format in all of my books. If we decide and we use the video format, what we would do is, I talked about this in a prior video, but most people are are afraid to be on camera and to put themselves out there to speak or anything like that. So if we use the video format, which is is like a little more advanced, but it's also a way to make your content sound more like you. If we use the video format, which is the format that me and Carlos use, which is transcription, right? It's not audio, it's video. And the reason why it's video is because you can create a course from that. So if we do the video format, then people will have a mini course that they can sell, as well as a book from the transcriptions of those videos. So I have an email where Dan Kennedy talks about the importance of becoming an authority. And I'm gonna get Carlos to find that email so we can reference and talk about that email. If we are actually going to do the workshop, this would be an ideal time to get all of these things done. So, a foreword by Doberman, right? We can get a foreword done. We can get that knocked out in a matter of like minutes. This is for Carlos, your book on direct mail with some insights and perspective by Doberman, since he has so much experience with direct mail. And these were like personal notes, but we would talk about what is direct mail. And a title that I was thinking about was Modern Day Direct Mail. Oh, shoot, I forgot to switch the screen. So, all right, I was talking about this. We'll find that email here. Just to go back, if we use the video format, most people will have a video. They'll have a course. So they'll not only have a book, but they'll have a course that they can sell it as well. And video assets can sell more than, some of the other assets. Now, here we are. If we are going to actually do a workshop, this will be an ideal time to get all of these things done. Foreword by Doberman Dan. And something cool with this is for you, Doberman. So something cool that I do for the workshop for the host is all the attendees, using like the way that I help people write it, all the attendees can have a foreword by you. So what I do is I help the attendees kind of write in your style and your voice and say the things that they want or need to say. They do all of the work, right? And then what we can do is you just approve or you sign off on them. And this will work like on Amazon. I have Leanna. We did a workshop with her, and she's got a bunch of forewords and a bunch of SEO and a bunch of authority because she's got forewords in all of these books that have been put together during the workshop. So that's something for you to think about. For you, Carlos, this would be an ideal time to get your direct mail book done and get some perspectives from Doberman. The title that I had in mind was Modern Day Direct Mail, which is MDDM. It's just something that's out there. It doesn't have to be this, but I think that could Modern Day Direct Mail Secrets. You had a good subtitle, Carlos. What is direct mail is what I was thinking of. Like, what is direct mail? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about why it works, including case studies from the Millward Brown study that we reference a lot about what it does to your brain. What else? Oh, something else that I wanted to do that I thought about was like getting a special contribution from 3D Mail Results. Travis and Tara, like getting their perspectives. Maybe they come in, do a podcast, or maybe they add a chapter to the book. That's how I was thinking about it. Carlos, you got a new client that's coming on board. Might be a great time for you to invite him here so everything can get done. Everything can get done, and there's no side projects or anything like that. I would love to, for me, I just want to add a bonus chapter or contribution on the best way to collect addresses, mailing addresses for people. And the best way is to send them something in the mail, which is like a book. Hey, get a free copy of my book. Then the last point is once the workshop is finished, It can be packaged up and offered as an asset that can be sold by you, Doberman, everybody that's involved. They can take it, they can use that as a bonus, but it becomes an asset for people to use. And then I was giving it some thinking. I don't know, based off my experience, the total time. So total time takes to fully finish book is, so the total time, like where I'm like absolutely super comfortable with people getting a book done and it's like a finished product, it's 8 hours or less, right? So I've done 4 hours, and if it's just individuals, there's no Q&A, there's no people asking questions, it can be 4 hours. But 8 hours is plenty of time to get a workshop done, and that can be split up into 2 days, that can be a day and a half, 1 day, whatever it is. But the total time it will take to finish a book workshop should be around 8 hours. Okay, so all right, those are my insights. Those are my perspectives. Any questions, just reach out to me.